Hey everyone, it's Amanda Kate, and this is the February 2023 Q&A, which was supposed to happen last month. So stay tuned because there's lots of really interesting topics for this month. Okay, this first question real quick is from YouTube, and they want to know if Trump is really Trump. Is Trump alive or masked? One thing that I should say, since my latest little foray into the hospital, is that I seem to be able to channel without having to tap in anymore. Like I can just channel with my eyes open. So let's see how this works. I might still close my eyes from time to time because I'm just used to it and it seems easier, but I'm going to practice channeling with my eyes open. Trump is alive, and he is really Trump. Masked. Not sure what you mean by masked. In a way, all of us are masked. Like the veil is a masking, and if he's not aware of what contribution he's making by just being himself and doing the things that he does, then yeah, he's masked. In that way, I would say yes, he's very masked. I don't think he's aware. He's operating from ego. I'm going to say it's because of a lot of trauma in his life, in his early life. Emotional, mostly emotional trauma. I feel like it's going to take a health toll on him. I could tell you all about that. Emotional stuff, I said in the predictions that the emotional stuff was for this year and not physical stuff, but if you don't deal with your emotional stuff, it turns into physical stuff. So whatever. More on that later. I could do a whole video about that. Okay, let's move on. Update on the financial situation. How are things with the dollar, the euro, inflation, the stock market, and crypto? So I may have to close my eyes for this because I'm not a big financial, I don't know a whole lot about that. So I may have to tap into that to see what the probabilities are. That's not really channeling, it's tapping in. I don't know. It's like I have to access a different field for that. So, which is misleading because there's no, there are no alternate fields, but you know what I mean, hopefully. Okay. I feel like it's all very controlled. Like the current powers that be, it's still the old system, and there are things in place to keep it just stable enough that people won't. Well, well, it's changing, but generally, just stable enough that the majority of people won't riot in the streets. It's not going to get that bad. But I know there is a changeover coming. So let me look and see how that might unfold financial wise. It looks right now like we're going to try to do a gradual changeover where, like in my predictions video, I talked about the changing of the guard. So we'll get some new, younger, I don't want to say younger, because you can have older people that are just as aware as the newer people. But it's easy to get caught up with the time concept and age as well. not younger people, but the new people that will be coming into positions of government are going to try to change things gradually to the benefit of the people, make it more equal, which that's the plan. They're not even going to show me an alternate of what happens if that doesn't happen. You know, if we can't do that, they're not going to. There's no sense in focusing on what we don't want. So the plan is to gradually benefit the people more. So right now, I still feel like it's all, excuse me, it's all still status quo. It's all the same. Inflation's not going to get too out of control. They're trying to keep us from recessions everywhere. And they're telling us that they're succeeding. At least that's what they're telling us in the US. I really feel like they're still trying to control crypto under the guise of protection, which, you know, there do need to be some protections in place so people don't get taken advantage of. Before, what I was seeing was crypto and the dollar are, you know, as one's as good as the other. I don't see, well, let me see. Let me check and make sure. They're just entangled. One goes up, the other goes down, and then they switch places. It's like a DNA strand over time. But I am still hearing that eventually we're not going to have to worry about money, which is an odd concept. And I won't. That's quite a while out. We don't have to worry about that right now. Okay, Shelly asked something about money too. She asked if it's better to use something about goldback foil notes instead of regular dollars or regular notes as a way to defund the government because somehow they're using it. And if you use the goldback foil notes, then they don't get to or something. So what they're saying is, well, and she's asking, in 2023, will we be moving into a time where we can use different currency like the goldback foil notes to pay for our utilities? No. No, we're still status quo until the new guard comes in. And I don't want to portray this as like the old guard is evil and the new guard is good. The old guard is heavily veiled, has served a purpose for whatever learning that we've wanted to do all these years. And we're just switching over because we can do new things now, and because we're becoming more aware, and because there's less density. So what they want to stress is they like how you don't want to support what you don't like anymore. But they're always repeating that you need to move in the direction of what you do want. And I realize that's hard to do when we're still caught up in a system that doesn't have everything. But there are other ways, maybe not for your utilities, but it sounds like you found other ways to pay for things in a way that makes you feel comfortable. And I feel like there's definitely going to be something different. Very different is coming. It's not anytime soon. We're going to start building it in 2024. It may take 10 to 20 years to get it really going. Maybe not that long though, seeing as how everything seems to be condensing into like smaller and smaller time periods. Let me see if I can. They're saying a lot of attention is being placed on like sort of what bad thing is out there and what can I do to avoid it. And that's really not the solution that we want to go for. We want to imagine, what's our best life look like? What do we do in the morning when we wake up? What kind of relationship interactions do we want to have? How do we want to do our business? How do we want to feel? Things like that. If we spend our time and attention watching videos about why this is bad and why that's bad and what to do with this and how to do it, who's taking what, and who are the bad guys behind this and that, that's not what we're created to do. We're created to create, or we're created to imagine what we want and focus our attention on becoming that or having that or doing that or being that. So rather than paying attention to, the Rothschilds and the government, what's the government doing wrong and how can we get around it? What we should focus on first is clearing all the fears out of our own field, our emotions. This is emotion purge year. We got to get rid of a lot of incorrect ideas about ourselves that we've believed since we came here. I'm convinced there's such a thing as a PTSD from just coming to Earth, especially if you don't have your full veil on and you've been a little bit aware since you were really small. It becomes really difficult, and there's trauma around that. Earth is hard, especially if you can feel the contrast between what you know is real and what you're experiencing here on Earth. So what they would like is for all of us to focus on getting rid of any fear that we have. And one of the ways that I do this, and it's so prevalent, it's in everything. It's like, especially even like, well, I think, especially if you have kids, because you don't want your kids to feel pain, you don't want things to go wrong. And so there's a tendency to like tense up and feel like I have to control everything so that the people I love don't get hurt. And for me, I've had to realize, like, I have to keep reminding myself they're here with their own objectives and their own lessons that they're here to learn and experience. And if I control that, then for one thing, you can't control it. They're going to experience what they're going to experience. And, it's going to happen whether you want it to or not. I'm not saying bad things are going to happen, but, if they came here to experience something, you don't want to take away their opportunity. And that's okay if you look at it from a higher level perspective where they're eternal and you're eternal and all of us are eternal and you have as many lifetimes, years, and infinity to do whatever you want and learn whatever you want. So it's not, I guess so technically you could try to control everything and stymie their everything they're trying to do that they don't know they're trying to do if they're not tapped in. But that's not the plan. So what I tell myself is we're eternal. Everybody's here for their own growth and expansion. And if you try to control that, or if you start feeling yourself, constricting, you just have to like take a breath and like, it's not important. Like, I'm not saying it's not important that we, should just ignore all the bad things that are happening in the world. Whatever you feel strongly about is aligned with your purpose. So of course you should do something about the things that you really care about. But you don't want to put all your attention on bad. You'll burn out, especially light workers. You will burn out. and then you're not any good to anybody. So we have to take care of ourselves, and we have to realize that everybody's here with their own purpose and mission, and move towards the things you want. Clear your own self, and then you'll be the attraction point. If all of us do that, if all of us become very loving, get rid of the fear, that just exponentially increases that energy on the planet. And then we don't have to focus on bad guy number one, bad guy number two, bad system over here, bad system over there. We already have a plan for clearing all that. We're already in progress for, the plan has been there. I mean, everything is, there's no such thing as time. We're on the trajectory of clearing that, and building the new is starting 2024, 2025. So that's what they're saying. Don't worry about that. Focus on yourself and making sure you're clear, your energy is clear. You are not fearful. Focusing on fearful things does not help the collective. It doesn't help the planet. Focusing on positive change, which I know, Shelley, is what you're asking. Like, you don't want to contribute to anything bad, but just know that we are in the process of changing things. Just give it a minute. The EE system, I feel like I answered this. Maybe I answered this for Rebecca in a private message, but I already looked into the EE system. It's not really, I don't feel like it's been compromised, so to speak, but I feel like they are hyping it a little more than it deserves. We have the power to do the same thing with our intention in our own bodies and minds. So I don't feel like, I mean, some people have said like it's the next medbed tech, and I just don't, when I tap in, I'm not really feeling that. I do believe that if you get a room full of people that do believe that it's beneficial, and you're in the middle of that group, you're going to receive benefit, because we all have a power to create. So in that way, it is helpful. Who would know that the Rothschilds have used it and tried to purchase the company? The only reason to me that would happen is if it could make them money, a lot of money. So not really feeling like that's an important thing that you should worry about, or any of us, really. Like I said, change is coming. We don't have to worry about it. But I do appreciate you asking, like, because, you might want to buy a system. I know you can buy systems of 2 to 4 panels, I think, and you can have your own, but I don't think it's necessary. I think you could do something similar, just with intention. I mean, start a group of 4 people instead of 4 panels, and set your intent, do a group intention towards something, and it will do the same thing. Okay. Would our sky friends consider Earth to be a school we continue to attend until we have completed our soul's journey through it? Meaning, do we continue to have consecutive incarnations within the same consciousness live stream? I understand we have multiple live streams happening simultaneously as a soul. However, I'm asking about the particular and individual live stream that goes to Earth over and over, so I can understand if Earth reincarnation is a consecutive life experience. I already talked to Rebecca about this, so I'm trying to remember what we already talked about. And I think she refined her question. I don't think she had a chance to update. Okay, so I believe what they said was, once you make a commitment to come and help on Earth, you have to go through the process just like any other human would go through to ascend. So, since we have all of eternity to do whatever we want, if we decide to come and help on Earth, then we start from the beginning. But I also feel like I have seen, and I've also heard other people talk about how there are like practice places outside of Earth where we go and we practice lives and we practice. I know Christian Sundberg said he practiced putting on the veil because it was too overwhelming for him. He aborted, the child that he was, the body he was going into because he couldn't. It's so dense and dark compared to where we really are and where we really our natural state of being, that it's hard to accept that the density, like to stuff ourselves down into such a dense, tight little ball when we know the expansiveness that we really are. But yeah, I think once we agree, if you're a star seed and you agree to come here and help, you have to go through the process. And it may be that there's a little bit of a speed up process where you have to practice, but I think that's because if you're coming here to help because your frequency is higher and we're helping to raise the frequency on Earth, then you have to learn I'm trying to figure out how to say it. You have to learn how to do things in an Earth way without damaging. Well, okay, so you've already ascended, and now you're going to go and start over, which is kind of cool. It's kind of like falling in love with someone and then forgetting, and then getting to fall in love with that person all over again. It doesn't sound like the same thing, but it's the same thing. Because that process of ascension is so valuable and so expansive. And then we're going to come here and do it again. But the problem is we've already done it. So we're not the right frequency to start from scratch. So we have to practice being at that frequency, if that makes sense. For Earth people, Earth seeds, I'm not convinced there are any just Earth seeds, but maybe. Well, I guess it would kind of make sense. Otherwise, everybody's stuffing themselves into this density, which is also possible. It may be that I just don't understand the question, but I think that was the gist of it. I don't think, but at the same time, I don't think we have to do anything. I think we choose to do it. We're not required. Like, if you got halfway through the Earth ascension process and went, you know what? I don't really care anymore. As a soul, I don't, that would never happen because as a soul, you just want the expansion. And you wouldn't give up that opportunity. But it's possible, like, that you could just go, I don't really feel like it anymore. And you just quit. Gosh, she had a really good question. I'm going to say, like, she and I were talking about, victim mentality. Feeling like our higher selves make these decisions and then we have to go through pain and trauma and it sucks, and it's easy to feel like we're victims of our higher selves. But we are our higher selves. It's just that we've chosen, as crazy as it sounds from our perspective, to forget so we can accomplish something or learn something. I think that was the gist of what we were talking about. Practical steps to help people out of victim mentality and into more understanding of their own responsibility to choose empowerment. Well, I mean, you're a soul. I mean, just remember, you're not this human. I mean, you are at the moment, both this human and another dimensional being, lowering your density to come into the space and learn something for your expansion and for the expansion of the all. And it's just hard. It's like a bitter pill to swallow. Like, we don't want to believe that, because this feels hard, and it's hard to imagine, like, it's hard to imagine when I was in excruciating pain in the emergency room a few weeks ago, or a month ago, that this is anything that I would ever choose for myself. But if you take the time to ask yourself, what would I be trying to learn from this? Like, what all was happening around this when this happened? And it just so happened I was learning some things, and I was clearing some things. And then when I came out of that, then I had more big, like, epiphanies around the whole theme. So we also were asking the question, like, why do we have to experience the bad things? Like, why can't we just go through this in a beautiful, loving way? Like, why can't we give ourselves beautiful, loving ways to solve, problems or expand or whatever? And we can, but the thing is, it's just like the way our society is structured, the way we grew up, the way we learn, the way all our cultures are. Our guides and our higher selves always try the loving expansion way first. And if we can't get the lessons in that way, then they have to get more creative. Like, they don't have to get meaner. I almost said they have to get meaner, but no, they have to get more creative. And I feel like it's really a last resort to, inflict pain or cause some major trauma in order to get the lesson finally. But unfortunately, it just seems like, for some reason, like, very few people get the big lessons, the big expansion from being happy. Like, how is that expansive? We're already happy and loving in our natural state. So, that doesn't really work. I like Bashar's, I heard Bashar say once that how amazing we are to get as far away from the light, or who we really are, as we possibly can, and still come back to ourselves. It's like, we start with God, the all, the source, or whatever, and we move out to have all these experiences. I always think of it like, I probably said this, like the Big Bang, like creation point, God. This is a way to mix science and spirituality, I guess. Here's creation point, and God or source says, I want to know myself better. Bang, there's the expansion. Parts of itself go everywhere to experience. And that's like the out breath. And like the in breath, you take it all in and integrate it back. And how much more understanding is there now that we've all gone out and had all these experiences? And the further away we get from source, the more information comes back, and the more we know ourselves, speaking as God or the all or whatever. It's so hard to explain these concepts. I'm just going to say what the Arcturians say. Meditate. Just blank your mind on a regular basis. You don't have to try to do anything, but just the act of stopping the scrolling on the phones and the watching of videos constantly, and just the next thing at work, email, text, like, this is our society now. It's just something, 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 something. Let there be nothing for a while. Just make a regular practice of, start with a minute. Just like at 1 o'clock every day for 1 minute, I'm just going to close my eyes and not think about anything, or try to not think about anything. And the longer you do that and the more you do that, the more you can expand that. And eventually you'll get to a point where you'll be in that blank space, that void, and you'll start just knowing things. It's like that's the access to your higher self. That's your access point. But you've got to be quiet for a minute to get to it. I mean, you can have an epiphany in the shower or while you're driving if you're not listening to the radio or thinking about what you're going to get at the grocery store or the 15 other things you have to do. But I think for most of us, life is just culture, and our life is just so fast paced now, especially with the advent of the internet. Everything is right now. There's no waiting 3 days for a letter from your aunt anymore. There's cell phones and, well, I mean, we've had phones for quite a while, but you know what I mean. We've just got to, if we want, they're correcting me. Don't tell them they have to do anything. They don't have to do anything. If we would like to be able to access the knowledge that will make everything that I just said make sense as a knowing, a deep knowing in your body, then be still. Be still and know, as they say. All right, that's all I have time for today. I got to take my son to work. I will, I'm trying to, I want to do this work, and I want to do channelings, and there's so much I want to share all the time. So I'm trying to expand that. So yeah, just letting you know. I'm trying to expand that. I'm working on it because I love it. I love doing this. And if I didn't answer your question all the way, just maybe expand on that. I really want to start doing lives. So tell me what you think. I might start doing live Q&As. I'd like to do them more often. And if I don't have to edit something, that's even better, because that's very time consuming. So if you'd like to see live Q&As, like maybe 30 minutes to an hour, let me know and I'll try to get that set up. I don't know how to do it, but I have teenage children and they can, they do all the technology, so I don't have to. All right. Have a lovely rest of your day and rest of your week, and I will catch you in the next video. Much love.